Hi, I'm Roland Minton. These are some of my favorite math stories. In this episode, Mathematics is MoMath. We will do MoMath. That is the Museum of Mathematics in New York City. I recently visited there for the first time on Pi Day 2026, in fact. While the museum is decidedly kid-friendly, the exhibits also highlight some interesting mathematical principles. Let's explore. One of the first things you see after entering the museum is a tricycle with square wheels. It's actually easy to ride because the square wheels mesh perfectly with the bumpy floor. What shaped floor smooths out the square wheels, you ask? It's the cycloid that we encountered in the episode Hyperbolic while looking at the shape of hanging chains and the St. Louis Arch. This is a nice introduction to the museum, fun and surprising, with a strong mathematical base that will please those who are in the know. The ride next to the tricycle features a platform and several oddly shaped objects. I have 3 small versions of these, which are called constant width shapes. In this case, constant height is a more helpful description. No matter how the thing comes to rest, the distance from the floor to the top of the object is constant. And that means that the platform has a perfectly level base to roll over, which you can do using the ropes to the sides. Smooth. Much of the museum is visual, holograms of intricate 3D shapes, and interactive displays where your motion changes the image shown. This may be more images of me than anyone wants to see. There are also some puzzles, slightly in disguise. At one station, you push a button and the computer randomly generates birthdays for 23 people. What is the probability that 2 birthdays match? A running total is kept for your attempts and for the entire day. I had matches 5 out of 10 times, making the total for the day 31 out of 56. In the episode Improbable, we see that the theoretical answer is just over 50%, very surprising to most people. A different display advertises that it can guess an answer in advance. This is a nice little magic trick. When I perform it, I always make it my third of the show and call it Trick III. I tape an envelope with III on it on a wall and say that the envelope will contain the correct answer. You're given a grid of numbers and asked to select 6 numbers, using 1 from each row and 1 from each column. The running total of your numbers is shown at the top. When you lock in your last number, the total is exactly what the machine and my envelope guessed, 111. Why does this work? We'll start by selecting the numbers down the diagonal, 28, 32, 18, 3, 11, 19. They add up to 111. What would happen if you selected different numbers? Suppose that instead of the 28, you chose its neighbor 26. That would lower the total by 2 to 109. But you now have 2 numbers in column 2 and none in column 1. Notice that making any switch from column 2 to column 1 will raise your total by 2 right back to 111. Now you can probably see patterns in the numbers in the grid. Pick any 2 columns, and the differences in the numbers are the same. Pick any 2 rows. The differences in the numbers are the same. You'll always get 111. Well, what else do we have? There's a Mobius strip that you can virtually drive on. The screen shows what your view would look like if you were actually driving on the Mobius strip. And this particular girl did not enjoy being upside down. The last station I'll talk about has you input a velocity and angle, and a basketball is launched at a basket with those initial values. You can then adjust velocity and/or angle until you make the basket. Well, this was timely with March Madness having started, and it's a lot like one of my favorite really old computer games, Gorillas. You can look it up. There's often an online version you can play, and it's great fun. For me, being there on Pi Day was a huge benefit because mathematician in residence Art Benjamin gave 31.4-minute shows each hour. Art features in several of my episodes, as his magic tricks, enthusiasm for math, and showmanship are an inspiration. In general, the talks that MoMath sponsors are worth the membership, even if you don't live in New York City to see them live. Art was introduced by Tim Chartier, a previous mathematician in residence, and another of my professional inspirations. Here are links to articles about them. And in the magic link, not all of those hyperlinks work. Along with his lightning calculations, can you square a 5-digit number in your head? And a magical magic square, Art honored Pi Day by singing his Pi song, to the tune, of course, of American Pie, and writing down the first 60 digits of pi. Much to everyone's enjoyment, 2 young boys in the audience could recite all 60 digits and more. It was a wonderful time being in a place where people are having fun with mathematics.